Hey everybody, this is Jennifer, and today I'm going to show you how to make this bracelet. And this goes along with the, I believe it was called tight herringbone or tight braided herringbone effect jewelry. I wasn't sure what else to call it. But so far I've made two different rings in this style, and I've done a necklace and earrings. And so go ahead and check those videos out, and this is how to make the bracelet. And today I made a 7-inch bracelet. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear from you, and I try to respond to all the comments that I get. And also hit the thumbs up button. That lets YouTube know you're liking my content, and it also lets me know you're liking my content, and I can adjust my content to be for whatever you're wanting. And I kind of go by the likes for that. And also hit the subscribe button and the bell notification button to be alerted to future videos. And we're at almost 500 subscribers, and I'm really excited. And once I get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, which is a lot, within a year, then I can be monetized. Whenever I get monetized, then I'll be able to bring you even more jewelry making content. So I hope you enjoy the video and just keep watching for the tutorial, and I'll look forward to hearing from you in the comment section down below. Hey everybody, today I'm going to show you how to make the bracelet to go along with the set that I've been making. And I've already made the necklace with the handmade chain, the ring, and on my channel there's actually two versions of this ring, just in two different types of stones. And then also I did a set of earrings to go along with this. And now I'm going to do the bracelet, and I need my bracelet to be about 7 inches long. So the wire I'm going to use is 18 gauge in silver by Pear Wire. It's this really pretty shiny silver. And then for the wire going around the beads, I'm going to use 26 gauge silver from Pear Wire. And the beads I'm using are rose quartz and amethyst. I want to do a 7-inch bracelet. So I have 4 4mm beads, which I did have to use a bead reamer on those. And what a bead reamer is this file like this. And I use a combination of this along with my electric bead reamer. And this is like this is my electric bead reamer. It just has the cup, the wire rounder cup in it. But I put like one of these attachments in. But the bead can get hot doing this if you do it this way, but you have to do it slow and be careful. So I go back and forth between the two tools, and I did have to do that. And you'd have to do that for some beads. If for some reason you don't want to do that, you can always substitute those for 6mm beads, and that would work as well. Oh, and if you're wondering, this bead reamer right here, it comes in a file set of about 5 files, and I think it's like $5.99 on Amazon. And I do have this linked in the description below, along with all my tools that I've gotten off Amazon. On my beads, I have 4 4mm beads, and those could be substituted for 6mm if you don't want to, if the hole's not large enough, you don't want to use the bead reamer. And I have 4 6mm beads, and I have 7 8mm beads. You could also add 10mm beads in there as well if you have somebody that likes a little bit chunkier jewelry. So to start, I'm going to cut a 1-foot-long piece of wire. I'm going to go ahead and straighten it. Because I want to have room to do wrapped loops at the ends. So I'm going to go ahead and cut 12 inches just to be safe, even though my bracelet's only going to be 7 inches. And then for the 26 gauge wire, I'm going to do about 20 inches of wire, because I want to have about 10 inches on each side in order to have enough to wrap. And what I suggest doing in order to help you with measurements is I make up pieces for myself to wear, and this is one of the first pieces I made in the same style, but I adjust the length by how many beads I have, and I go by my bracelets that I have made up, and I have a whole stand of bracelets that I go by to use as reference points for whenever I need to check off for measurements. And so that's a tip to do. And then it also gives you jewelry to wear that you can wear out and show off to people. So I'm gonna, actually to be safe, I'm gonna cut 24 inches of wire. Because I've already tried this bracelet twice and I ran out of wire. So I'm going to go with 24 inches of wire. That'll give me 12 inches on either side, and that should be plenty. And I would honestly rather have too much than not enough. So I've cut all my wire. So I have my 4 pieces of 26 gauge that are 24 inches long. And then I have a 12-inch piece of the 18 gauge. So I'm going to start by bending my wire, because I want to do a nice wrapped loop on each end. And I'm going to use my 6-step bell making pliers on the second step up, because this is going to be the side that I put my hook on. So I'm just going to pull this around nice and tight like that. And then I like to have a little bit at the end to really grasp onto. And I'm just gonna wrap it around like 3 times. Is what I normally do, just enough to really secure it well. So I've come up here, and now what I'm gonna do is, I'm not gonna wrap this piece around yet. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it and give myself enough room to wrap a little bit, like that. Like that. And this isn't something you have to do. This is just something I prefer to do. And I like to round off the ends, especially on something like a bracelet. I like to use my wire rounder on that, and it just finishes off the ends nicely, but it also makes sure it's not going to scratch anybody. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my wire rounder and do that. And this is much easier than a manual one. I will tell you that right now. Okay, so my wire is nice and rounded off now. And now, because I'm going to use my short nose pliers, and these are by Xuron, just because I feel like I have more control when pressing something small like this down. So I'm just going to press this piece of wire down as flat as I can get it. And I just feel like I could really get in here better with these. But the biggest thing is having more control. And I'm just going to make sure my wraps are all pressed together, because this is going to be the front of my bracelet. And I just like to go ahead and double check that for making sure it feels smooth. So I'm just going to get on my wire to where the ends are meeting up with each other. I'm just folding it over in half. And just getting it to where I'm just trying to get this where it's pretty much even on either side. And now I'm going to take these wires and I'm going to wrap around this piece of wire right here. And I'm just going to take one piece and go around like that and bring it back around. And the back side is going to be this piece that's a little bit wider, and the piece that's going to go on the front is going to be this piece right here that's a little thinner. And I'm just want to pull this just a little tighter. And then this is going to be the front of my piece right here. So I'm just going to straighten this wire out, and I'm going to start, since all my other pieces started with a piece of amethyst, I'm going to use a piece of amethyst. And like in the middle, I always like to have an odd number of beads, especially if I'm using 2 tones of beads, so that they will follow the same pattern. I'm going to take my 4mm amethyst, and I'm just going to slide that all the way down to the end. And then I'm just gonna take these on my fingers and run them through my fingers a couple times just to warm up the copper. And this is a lot easier after you get this first bead secured. Laid the wire on the bead, and I've laid my thumb on the bead just to keep it flat. And then I'm pulling it back around to the side I started with. And I'm pulling it pretty tight. So that's what that looks like. And so now I'm going to do that with the other side. I'm just going to run my fingers over the wire a little bit, and then I'm just going to lay it onto the bead like that, and then I'm just going to wrap back around like that. And now I'm going to try to keep this as straight as I can the whole time, with the front staying forward, just to make it easier in the end. And if for some reason your bead's not opened up quite enough, you can take your fingernails and you can just spread those wires apart just a little bit. But I'm going to press that wire down to the bead. Okay, so now I'm going to take my 4mm rose quartz. And I'm just going to slide that on. And I'm just going to do the same thing where I run it through my fingers, and then I lay it flat on the bead like this. I'm going to lay my thumb over it just to press it down and hold it in place. And then bring it around, back around the side that I started with. And then I'm going to do the same to the other side. Okay, now I'm going to take a 6mm amethyst. And I'm sorry I keep hitting my camera. It's easy to do with these longer wires. So I'm just going to lay this flat on the bead like that and press my thumb into it and just wrap it back around to the side I started with. And I'm just trying to keep these wires nice and pressed down. So now I'm going to take a 6mm rose quartz and I'm going to do the same thing. And one thing you always want to think about also is how long your hook closure is going to be, or clasp, or whatever you use to close your piece of jewelry is going to be, because you need to add that into the length and adjust for that with the beads. Because that's always going to add some length on, and I always take into consideration how much wire I'm going to have for the wrapped loops and for the loop part. But now I'm going to put an 8mm amethyst on. And once you get going on these bracelets, they come together pretty quickly. They're not super hard to do. So I'm just wrapping that back around. And now I'm taking an 8mm rose quartz. And I'm just going to press those wires down flat onto the bead and just wrapping those wires around. And then an 8mm amethyst. And always run my hands down to the end of the wire each time I put a new bead on, just to keep that copper nice and warm and so it molds a little bit better. But you can see how you get kind of into a rhythm. And that's something I found with a lot of different pieces of jewelry, is once you get into the rhythm of it, you can actually move pretty quickly. And if y'all have any questions about any of this jewelry or have any requests for videos, please feel free to ask. I'd love to talk to y'all in the comments. And I'll do my best to respond to any comment that I get, as long as it's nice. And so now I'm going to put on my last 8mm amethyst bead. And now I'm going to do a mirror image of what I have going on over here. So I'm going to start with the rose quartz. And it's just going in the same pattern that I've been into with rotating between the rose quartz and the amethyst. So I'm just going to wrap that around. And then I'm going to do my 6mm amethyst. And I'm glad I went with 24 inches of wire because I'm using most of it. And then I'm going to go ahead and put on a 6mm. So now I'm putting on my 4mm rose quartz. I'm just wrapping that around right there. And that didn't wrap quite the way I wanted to, so I'm just going to bring it back a little bit and then pull it. One thing I want to do before I put my last bead on is I want to find my front, and I just want to make sure that everything is straight. And I may need to twist some of these a little bit, just kind of rotate them, just to make sure everything is straight. And then like this, you can rotate at the end if you need to. So now I'm going to slide my amethyst on. And so now we're going to do just a little bit different on the ends, since we have to finish off these wires. I'm going to wrap that all the way around like that one time, and then I'm just going to bring it straight over. And then I'm going to trim that wire as close as I can get to the base wire. So now I'm just going to take my short jawed pliers, just so I can get in here and feel like I have control, because sometimes I don't feel like I have enough control with the longer pliers when I'm doing something like this. And I just really want to press this wire into the base wire the best that I can. And I'm kind of doing an opening and closing motion and a rotating motion, trying to get these wires to lay down. And this is actually the most difficult part of the bracelet, is getting the wires to lay down flat. And I used to do it this way on the other side, but I've changed the way I do that as well. So I'm just rotating these around until it's nice and smooth. Okay, and then that feels good. A little piece of wire broke off, so I'm just going to take that off. But I'm just going to feel it and make sure everything feels smooth. I'm going to press that down right there just a little bit more. And I'm just going to slide it in. And for this side right here, for these wires, what I want to do is I'm going to lay my wires down on my bead, and I'm going to bend it around like that. And this will just give me a guide. And then I'm going to pull it back, and I'm going to start with this bottom wire right here, and I'm going to lay that down on the bead. And I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it around one time and then bring it across. And then trim that off. And then I want to take that little wire end and I just want to press it down, just so I know that it's nice and smooth. And each time I'm going to do this, I'm going to make sure it's smooth. So now I'm going to take this next wire and lay it right on top of that. And I'm just going to wrap around once and then pull across. And trim that wire off as short as I can get it. And then I'm just going to press that wire down. And just feel it for any roughness. And then this next piece of wire I'm going to take and I'm going to lay right on top of that. And I'm just going to fold it around, pull across, and trim. So now I'm just going to press that wire down. And it feels good. So now I'm going to lay this last wire and pull it across. And then I want to find that wire and I just want to press it down. And I'm just going to neaten my wires up just a little bit by pressing them together. And then I just want to make sure this is nice and smooth and secure. And this can take a little bit of working with to get it to be perfectly secure. But I have found that the opening and closing of the plier jaws is very helpful, and that feels good. So now I'm going to measure and just see where I am. I'm right at 6 inches. And so one thing I want to do before I make this, and I want to go ahead and straighten these beads up again while I still have the opportunity to really do that. And I'm just twisting them on the wire base a little bit just to rotate them and trying to just make sure everything is lined up and nice and straight. Okay, so now I'm going to take this piece of wire and I'm going to go a little ways above those because I want to have enough room to make a good wrapped loop. And I'm going to use this third step up right here. So, and this will be the side that the hook will actually go into. That's why I want to have a little bit larger loop. So I just want to bring it around. And now I'm going to take my pliers and I just want to pull that around really good. Okay, so now I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to wrap them around 3 times, just like the other side. And And now I'm just going to bring it up like that. And I need to straighten that out just a little bit. There. I just want to straighten my loop out a little bit. And so now I'm just going to trim this, leaving just a little bit of a tail for me to use my wire rounder on. And so now I'm going to use my wire rounder on this little piece, and then I'm going to press that around. Okay, and that feels smooth. So I'm going to take my short jawed pliers just so I can get in here a little bit better. And I'm just going to work this little end of the wire around. And I just want to keep pressing it around. And I'm trying to hold this stable so it won't move too much, but it's still moving on me. So I'm just going to keep pressing this around. And so I'm just feeling for any sharp places along here. And that I wanted this side to be up, so I just rotated this loop around with my pliers. But I'm just feeling along and making sure I don't feel any sharp places. So now I'm going to straighten out everything again. And these wire loops, if they're a little bit off, what you do, you just take them in your pliers and you just rotate it to where you want it. Now what I want to do is take some of my 18 gauge wire, and I'm going to take maybe about 4 inches of it. I'm just going to straighten it out. And just going to cut a little 4-inch section. At least about a 4-inch, somewhere around there. And the first thing I want to do is on the hook is I'm going to use my wire rounder on this end, just so I don't have to worry about it scratching, and so I don't have to keep pressing it down until it's flat. This just makes it a little easier. So now that this is smooth, I'm going to take it in these pliers. I'm going to tape the very tip, because I want to have as small a bend as I can get. And I'm just bending it up just a little bit, like that. And then I'm going to go down into the jaws of my plier a little bit more. And I'm just going to gently press this down. I don't want to press it too much, but I want to flatten it out just ever so slightly. Okay, so that's pressed down a little bit. So now I'm going to take my 6-step bell making pliers, and I'm just going to lay my wire in here like that on the 3rd step up. So I need my hook to be fairly short. I need it to be about 1/2 an inch long. So I'm going to come up here on the pliers just a little further up. And I'm just going to lay it right there, and I'm just going to bend it over like that. And I'm just going to bend it so it's like that. So now I'm going to take it, I'm going to cut this right there. And I'm going to use my round nose pliers, and I'm just going to twist this up all the way up until it meets with the wire, just like that. And now you could hammer this if you wanted to help work harden it, but I've been having migraines like crazy, so I'm just going to press it with my nylon jaw pliers. And that'll help strengthen it a little bit too. Okay. Now I'm just going to take my pliers and I'm just going to open this up just a little bit like that. So now I'm going to take my bracelet on the smaller end and I'm going to make sure my hook is facing downwards, since that's the end that I want to be since that's the end that's gonna face the wrist. And now I measure many times when I'm making jewelry. Now just to make sure I'm good on length, okay, it's right at about 7 inches. So now what I want to do, and this is the way I like to bend my bracelets, is I like to take one thumb on this end and take my other thumb on the other end. And I just like to gently start to curve that around into an oval shape. And then I'm just going to go ahead and hook it. And then I'm just going to kind of pull it gently and just elongate it into more of an oval shape. And then I'm just going to look and see if there's any beads that need to be rotated or straightened up. And I'm just going to go ahead and do that now. Which they're pretty good, so they were already pretty good because I had already done that. But whenever you're working with wire, things do get twisted out of place. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video on how to make this bracelet, and check out the other videos to see how to make the other pieces of jewelry, like the earrings and everything, on the earrings and the rings and the necklace. And let me know if you try these pieces in the comments. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. If you don't mind, give this a thumbs up. That helps my channel out a lot. Also hit the subscribe button and click the bell notification button. That we're at almost 500 subscribers, so we're doing good. And I'm working on getting up to 1,000 subscribers, and then I've got to get 4,000 watch hours so I can be monetized. And when I get monetized, I'll be able to bring you even more jewelry making content. So if you could help me get to that point, I would be really happy. But I will list all my materials in the description below, and it will be for a 7-inch bracelet. And if you have any questions for me at all, please put them in the comment section. But I hope you all had a wonderful day, and I hope you enjoyed watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.